Welcome to Our Ventura TV. My name is MB Hanrahan, and today my guest is my friend and mentor sometimes, Trudy Arriaga, the outgoing, as of mid-2015, Superintendent of Ventura Unified School District.
Right. It's nice to be here and nice to be with you, MB.
Under these circumstances. So Trudy, how many years were you the superintendent?
I was superintendent for 14 incredible years, so privileged to be the superintendent.
So that puts you, must have been like 2001, 2000?
That's exactly when it was, 2001.
People always say, oh yeah, Trudy Arriaga, local girl, so quickly give us a rundown of your local roots and kind of how you ended up where you were, please.
Local girl, born and raised in Ventura, went through the Ventura schools, graduated from Ventura High School. Actually started my career in Ventura Unified School District as a paraeducator, a teacher's aide, and then kind of moved through the various ranks and found myself as superintendent 14 years ago.
When did you start speaking Spanish?
I always loved languages and loved languages in high school, and then had the opportunity to study in Mexico when I was a young woman, and that was kind of...
You're so fluent. It's just so beautiful.
Thank you.
Why did you get into education?
You know, I think I was one of those who always knew that I would be an educator. I always just thought that my life was going to be that I would be a teacher, and I loved being a teacher, so the administrative aspect was a bit of a surprise for me. But education has always been I was one of those children who, always played school and always wanted to be the teacher.
Okay. What would you say are the biggest changes in this we have our school system, but just the culture of schools that you saw in your career?
I actually think in my career the biggest change in education has been technology. I mean, if you can believe, MB, when I was principal at Sheridan Way, I didn't have a computer at my desk. I didn't have a cell phone, and look at where we are today with our 2-year-olds, our 3-year-olds being able to manipulate technology, and we utilize it constantly. And so to actually have seen that in my career has been a phenomenal change in terms of how we do business, but also who our children are.
What do you say? I mean, I am an educator myself, and have friends who are educators. What do you say when people say, kids today, they're just not the same, or students are just not the same?
I would absolutely agree. I think they're better than ever. Wow. I honestly do. Kids are smarter today than they've ever been. Kids are certainly more technologically proficient. Kids are global thinkers more than they've ever been before. Kids are problem solvers. They're committed to their communities. So I agree, kids aren't the same, but I wholeheartedly disagree that they're not as great as they used to be. I think kids are better than ever today.
Oh, okay, cool. Because, I mean, sometimes when I think of that context, I go, well, people are raised to be more independent-minded, so why wouldn't students be more independent-minded in the classrooms? I mean, that's just...
Right. And the fact that our kids have, traveled places that we could have never dreamed to travel, not necessarily in terms of traveling on a personal level, but certainly virtually and through technology. Just all that kids know today is quite phenomenal.
So on the home front, what do you think are what would you tell a parent or a guardian of a child is the most important things to support children in their education? Or older, and when I say children...
Well, oddly enough, I'll take the whole technology aspect and say just the opposite, to be so very cautious that we don't rely on technology, that children still know how to greet and meet and converse and problem solve and care and empathize about people. My worry for our children today is that they are so reliant on technology. So if I was to give advice to a parent, I would say continue to have dinners, continue to have conversations, continue to speak about relationships, and make certain that our children hold on to the emotional aspect of what really make us human. So that would be and read to your children. That's always mine. Read to your children.
I mean, sometimes I actually think like there might be a class in human interaction that students have to take.
Right. Right.
Maybe just as a backdoor way to, for manners or I don't know, which not in a bad way, but
I think a good example was I was on a school bus with students my last year, and it was completely silent. And the reason it was silent was because all of the kids were, they were technologically connected at that point, rather than talking with the person in front of them and behind them, and that's a worry.
Yeah, so it's like a new turn on a seen but not heard thing. Good point. So many, many years, and you will probably continue to be in leadership positions with really smart people. So how do you handle when these really smart people give you pushback, especially pushback to change? Because I'm certain you've had to administer change in your years of being a superintendent.
Well, first off, I really respect really smart people, and when people are pushing back, it's always an opportunity for me to really look at perspectives that are perhaps different than my own. But if it's a pushback that I don't think, or that I didn't think was good for children or good for people, I can push back too,
I'm sure.
I can stand up, and I can stand up for what's right and be courageous sometimes even when no one else is standing. So there's nothing wrong with pushback, though. I think that it's pushback that makes us, find that center where is perhaps the right place to be.
As of right now, you're choosing to stay in academia. Why? Besides, I know, lifelong teacher, you played teacher, but...
Yeah. Well, I just think the opportunity to learn and grow is one that is such a privilege, and my opportunity now to be able to stay in academia and perhaps help emerging leaders or those who are emerging into education seems like the right place for me to be able to now give back everything that I've received to those who are moving forward.
So you'd rather stay in teaching than administration, you think, or are you keeping the door open?
No, I'm really thrilled about just being able to teach again and being able to help those who are moving forward in administration.
May I ask what subjects you're going to teach or you're thinking about teaching?
Well, generally I teach subjects that revolve around cultural proficiency, interpersonal skills, and leadership.
Now, see, that opens another. What's your, if any, opinions on integration? Would not be the word, but it continues to be an influx of people from other cultures. Sometimes can't speak the language. As I said, you're very proficient in Spanish. I don't know, maybe other languages as well. What do you? Just one thing that you would be teaching me if I took your course in cultural proficiency. I know it's pretty.
The one thing that I would say to you is to ensure that your actions reflect your values. It's very easy for us to say what we believe, but it's not as easy to act the way we say we believe. And if our values are solid and our values are based on inclusivity and kindness and respect and acceptance and celebration, then our actions will follow suit.
Actions do speak louder than words. Okay. If you could influence, what would be the position? The Department of Education? If you could be the Secretary of Education for the world, or even just our country, what would be something you would do like right now?
I would continue to infuse additional resources into our schools that would promote the arts, that would promote social and emotional well-being of our children, and that would allow our students to explore their own creative beings and who they are as children. I worry sometimes that the standardization of education has not allowed children to really be who they are, and to be able to infuse resources into our schools so that all children could find their fitting place at the table would be what I'd do if I was the queen.
Yeah, people are all people are so creative and have given a chance to and I think it helps artists actually to interface with young people as well.
Absolutely.
Full disclosure, Trudy, you hired me on to do one of my very first murals in the Ventura Unified School District when you were the principal at Sheridan Way, and I'm always going to be grateful for you helping me with that career trajectory.
One of the best decisions I made, because now I get to see the works of MB Hanrahan all over this community, and love every piece you've done, MB, but the one that steals my heart is the one at Sheridan Way Elementary School.
There you go. So I consider you an inspiration, and I'm sure everybody considers you, like, people that have had the honor to work with you consider you an inspiration. But, you know, when women get into positions of power, there's a young woman watching. And, but if you were going to have done something else in your life, what would you have done? Or are you going to do it?
I don't think I would have done anything other than what I've done. I've been really, really fortunate, but I do believe that it's the responsibility of women to mentor women, particularly in leadership positions. But I think if I had to undo anything, I probably would have spent a little more time paying very close attention to myself and my family. So I have the opportunity to do that now.
You do. In our current cultural climate, you know, we have laws that make people equal, and you say, okay, you know, that regulate behavior. But I still, well, I'm just wondering what your experience is. How come there are so many women teachers, and then it seems like relatively few, though, in the positions of administrative power? I mean, am I wrong? I don't get it. It's kind of similar in the art world too. I'll say that.
Yeah, you're absolutely
from my experience.
Right. You're absolutely right. And even in the superintendency, I think females now are 6% or 8% of the superintendents in our nation, although teachers are more 80-70% as females in education. And so, you know, it's that opportunity again to really look at equity and access for all. And that's where I think the mentoring of women to women becomes very, very important. And certainly there's the financial aspect of it, that in education we still continue to see females in the not in the highest paying jobs and not in the positions of authority and leadership. And so we have a long way to go, but I tell you, when you asked about the kids of today, the girls, the females of today in our schools are unbelievably capable. And so I'm really excited to see what they're going to do with the future of not just our communities in education, but our nation.
Is there anything else that you would like to share with us as far as your vision? I mean, you've done so much. Not to keep emphasizing that, but you've done so much locally. Is there something else that you would like to see happen that you could implement, or is there just something else you'd like to share with us? Some maybe secret vision, some little secret plan that you're working on?
Well, my little secret plan, which isn't quite so secret, is I hope that years from now, the children on the west side will be swimming in that west side pool. And it will be because the vision didn't die. And Debbie Golden and I have taken the responsibility of being co-chairs of the Dive-In Project, the DIP Project, and that's something that I'm going to work on in the future, and just to ensure that the children who live less than a mile from the ocean have the opportunity to learn to swim in this community. And I think that's a way to keep our neighborhoods and our communities safe, is by keeping our kids connected and involved. So that's a vision. So hang on to that one.
All right. I think that's a beautiful way to go out. So again, Trudy, thank you so much.
Thank you, MB.
And thank you for joining us on Our Ventura TV. My name is MB Hanrahan, and I'll see you again.